All right, we got a little bit of breaking news here. Shout out to my man Andrew for bringing this to my attention. But I did see a bunch of videos, some weird stuff happening. We're entering into the gayest, literally the gayest month of the year. And as to be expected, a lot of mega corporate entities are going to have their little pride stuff really being shown off. And I believe it was Libs of TikTok that also posted this. They're showing that they're selling some weird stuff. They've hired some weird people as well to design some of the things, but you got this like took friendly, like bathing suits and clothing for that are more geared for like children, which don't get me started on that issue. But it looks like insiders as being reported here, pull this up real quick, are saying that there's an emergency meeting. There were emergency meetings this past Friday because they're, I don't know, I guess they don't want to end up like Bud Light. Let's say this, as that's what it says here. Some Southern Target stores were forced by the corporation to move LGBTQ pride merchandise away from the front of their locations after customer outrage to avoid Bud Light situation. And it talks here about the tuck friendly bathing suits and all that. But a Target insider told Fox that many locations, mostly in rural areas of the South, there's Targets everywhere, by the way, have relocated pride sections to avoid the kind of backlash that ain't gonna do you no good Bud Light has received in recent weeks after using a transgender influencer in a promotional campaign. A Target insider said that there were emergency calls on Friday, and some managers and district senior directors were told to tamp down the pride sections immediately. So obviously, in certain areas, it makes a lot more sense to have this approach just economically. Those people are going to tend to be weirded out by some of this stuff, and maybe you're going to turn them off. They're going to be less likely to shop. It says we were given 36 hours. Told we were given 36 hours, told to take all of our pride stuff, the entire section, and move it into a section that's a third of the size. So move it away from, I guess, where people are able to get to it easily or see it, and shrunk the size. From the front of the store to the back of the store, you can't have anything on mannequins, no large signage or anything. We call like customers guests. There is outrage to the part on their part. This year, it is exponentially more than any other year. The Target insider continued, I think given the current situation with Bud Light, the company is terrified of a Bud Light situation. And this insider has worked with the company for almost 2 decades. And they say they rarely do stuff like this. Look, black pillars get fucked. Let me say that right off the rip. I'm telling you, I'm like, bros, when it comes to the issue of economics, I do not, and other people do not miss on this issue. Okay, if we understand it, for whatever reason, you have a lot of people that think that there is zero power in the customer. Okay, because of with ESG or other things, BlackRock, and all these external factors that you can't control, they like to think that, well, it's inevitable. And so the changes, they're never going to adjust, they're never going to change, they're never going to be punished for it. That is hogwash. I'm not saying the existence of those things or those investments. What I'm saying is hogwash is that you have no level of influence. They get paid more by you than they get paid by those guys. That well starts to run dry, and here you are. The Bud Light thing was so significant because finally you had a large group of people that said, you know what? No more. We're done with this, which is what I've been calling for forever. I've said this many times. You fund them, they don't fund you. So when you look, you can't get every single mega corporate entity, right? But if you just focus on one or two at a time, you'd be surprised how that will send a message and a ripple effect through several industries. Yes, some people are going to go double down on it. They absolutely will. They're badly and poorly informed. They have a bunch of blue-haired, probably weirdos that are working for them, and this is what you're going to get. So that's to be expected. But the rational ones, even if they don't admit it publicly, we know Bud Light internally is scrambling right now. And this is yet another example of if this is as to be reported, at least in the South, where it's probably going to be a lot more unpopular, they're like, hey, get this stuff up out of here. It's not worth the damage. Okay? And that doesn't mean that it's going to work. And some people might finally say, well, okay, maybe I don't need to go to Target. Maybe I go to somewhere else. And like I said, if you're a competitor, which is hard to compete with mega big box companies, but like if you sell a product that Target sells, this is your opportunity. Like I mentioned in the last video with myself and comic books and what it is that we did. It's not about creating something out of spite. It's not about even alternative, like being on the opposite end, but still signaling. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is don't do what they do. Let them make the mistakes. Organically, you're going to get their customers. But more importantly, there is power in the customers. Do not let these people who are down and out and broken. You have a lot of power. It's just the difference between the mainstream, or let's say the authoritarian left, and the non-leftists. So there's people on different sides of that spectrum on the other side. Is that, say what you will, we can think that the authoritarian left is full of a bunch of idiots, which they are. They're not smart people. Okay, I've made that point that they're stupid. They're only smart enough to understand that they will not go out of their way to fund or justify funding their ideological enemies. Unfortunately, on the other side, we do a lot of that, a lot of justification, a lot of trying to justify and excuse going out of our way to fund optional things. I'm not saying, look, it's a lot different when it's like you're dependent on let's say if Target, which would never be the case because that's not even Target's business model, was the only places you can get food from. That's a little different because they're providing something that you need to live. But if you're just going there because it's just a better experience or it just happens to be there, you can go out of your way to go get the things that you need to live somewhere else. So it's all, let's say, optional things. And those companies that provide optional things, the Disneys of the world, can be defunded and they will get their act right or fail. Those are the only two options that they have. Apologize, change up methods, become more economically sound, at least in that approach, or go under. Or let's say be significantly smaller than what they were before. That's the only two options that they have. So we'll see. If you enjoyed this video and want to support other content, please become a member at ericdjuly.com. This is my own unique platform that replaced my Patreon. Our Ultramax, which is our highest tier, gets free shipping domestically even with Rippaverse orders and are able to redeem the Creators Edition copy of ISOM #1. You can move up and down tiers or cancel at any time. Also visit Rippaverse.com. This is my comic book company that launched a $3.7 million campaign. We appreciate your support.